Hi, and welcome to the presentation of my life. My name is Mika. I lived in China for 12 years. I have a high political interest, being a liberal. I'm really passionate about business to improve society, and I owe my success to family, friends, my business partner, and my wife. I grew up in a highly political leftist family. Both parents were passionate teachers, but I myself find myself pretty confused about school, but instead I find interest in learning technology on my own. In early adulthood, I started my first two companies, which were both utter failures, mostly because I didn't really have a clue on how to run a company or what a company should do. So instead, moved on, and I worked as a programmer in Norway. At 21 years old, I traveled to China with two friends, and I got really hooked on China. Coming back from China, I moved on with university life. I didn't really want to go back to work. What I wanted to be was a psychologist, but instead I got into political science, which I thought was really interesting. I later went on to China to study Chinese. While I loved the language, I really hated the studies. I moved back to Sweden and I studied intensive law at Lund University. After being pretty tired of school, studying at university for a couple of years, I found myself really lucky. One of my friends had a company in China and he made me his general manager. After working for him for a while, I moved on to other companies as manager, and after 2 years, I found out that if I can run another person's company successfully, maybe I could open my own. So I opened my own company, and I learned how to make a profit. Not by myself, of course, but with the help of friends who had businesses, who could give me a lot of advice, and of course my family who supported me. After running my own company for a couple of years, I found myself pretty lonely, even though I had a couple of employees. So I find this guy here, Chris, which started up basically just me helping out a friend with his projects in his company. And we quickly found that we both believe in business as a tool to improve society, not just to make a profit, even though we love profit. We were both impressed by this guy, Simon Sinek, and his leadership theory, which basically states that any project or business should first focus on why they do something, then move on to how and what. Because most people, when they start their company, ask themselves what to do, and that gives them the wrong prioritizations. We're also really impressed by the lean methodologies on how to run companies to be more efficient. So, one of the examples of this is that we thought it was really difficult to run projects. So we created this website called Kick-Ass Projects. And how we did it was that we basically put a big wish list here when you're signed in. And this guy who makes these wishes prioritizes them. And then our team that works on these wishes just moves that onto stories. And when they're finished working with them, they move it on to validate. And then this guy who made these wishes can validate if they're actually finished or not, making them done. So what we have here is a project management tool which makes anybody around the world in our teams, or anybody actually, to collaborate on teams. Another example of this could be our current project, which is Domino Chinese, where the big problem was, why is it so difficult for people to learn Chinese? Basically what we did was that we took these lessons online where we had videos and quizzes, and then they could practice until they attain mastery here before moving on to the next lesson. So the result of this, or what it becomes, is a massive open online course. About 2 years ago, I found my wife, Julia. She's here. We got married early this year, and before I moved to Sweden, I studied at MIT in China at an MBA, which was a partnership between MIT and a Chinese university. And both me and my wife got offers from two different Swedish universities, so we decided to move to Sweden. I stay on as the CEO of our company, and I used my master's studies to improve our company. So, to recap, I lived in China for 12 years. I have a high political interest, being a liberal. I'm passionate about doing business to improve society, and I owe my success to family, friends, all the advice I got from my business partners and family. And I'm married to Julia. Thank you for listening.